That's funny. Stare at me. Stare at me. Stare at me. Thank you.
Get away from Kree. Get away! Get
Oh,
away, bro! Bro, wouldn't let me vibe, bro. Beautiful people. Let me tell you one thing I love is when we get a little bit of new spice added to our life. Now look, I love me some new Destiny content a lot, but I also like sometimes some of the changes they'll make to certain exotics. You know, sometimes the changes they'll do to this game, swinging a big miss, homie. However, there's sometimes where there's some pretty darn good stuff that happen. This season, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about the new and improved Sanguine Alchemy. Look, bro, I've been a Warlock main all my life, and there was never a chance in hell that I'd be caught dead using this exotic until now. Now, what is this change, you may ask? Well, beforehand, this exotic previously got a change that allowed it to basically give you 4x surges, which is a 25% damage buff, the same as old Font of Might pre-Lightfall, with any weapon that matched your super type. Pretty useful. That's pretty cool. However, now what this bad boy does is that while you stand at any rift or another person's well of radiance, I just want to say that well does work for this. Even if it's not your own, it's somebody else's, it will still work and proc your blood magic. But damaging a target while standing in any rift or any well of radiance will mark it. You deal extra damage to marked targets. This is separate from the 4x surge boost that you get from a weapon that matches your super type. Then the next question that has to be asked, okay, that's cool, but do those two parts of the exotic stack with each other? Let me tell you, they do. They do. Meaning that in total, if you're using all of the exotic perks properly, as in you have your heavy weapon matching the same element of your super, you're standing in any rift, you'll be getting roughly about a 37.5% total damage buff to your weapons. That's pretty good. So now that we understand what the change was to the Sanguine Alchemy going into this episode and why it's actually pretty good now, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a build for it that allows for you to crank out some serious damage. And luckily this season or episode, whatever, we have the return of Breach and Clear, meaning you can give yourself a free debuff just by using something like a Wither Horde or any GL for that matter to apply a 15% debuff to the boss you're damaging. So you got a built-in debuff and a built-in 37.5% damage boost to your weapons, and you don't have to use any slots on your boots for surge mods. All I'm saying is don't sleep on this exotic, and while I'm going to be giving a build that you can use to crank damage, don't feel like this is the only setup that you're locked to, because the exotic works by giving you the ×4 surges, aka the 25% damage buff for a weapon matching your super type. If you're on something like Prismatic, you have a lot of options of super types and heavy weapons to choose from. What if you want to go with a solar option? Maybe try something like an Apex Predator, or if you're solo, try something like a Dragon's Breath with like Song of Flame. So while this setup is going to be very good for cranking damage, don't feel like it's the only one that's viable with this exotic revamped juiced up Sanguine Alchemy, because there's a lot of available options for you. All right, now here we go for the more in-depth breakdown of this specific setup, since we've already talked more about the actual change for Sanguine Alchemy, why it's good, and all of that. So my prismatic subclass, bro, there's nothing too crazy. Obviously, since our weapon of choice in our heavy slot, at least for this rotation and setup, is the Edge Transit, we have to have Nova Bomb. Of course, if you're trying any solar weapon, you go Song of Flame, yada yada. We have Facet of Courage, so that our Nova Bomb can do more damage. We have Arcane Needle, so that we can unravel them, and Unravel is a darkness debuff, so it, you know, procs Facet of Courage. Facet of Purpose, this is like one of my favorite fragments for any prismatic setup. Same thing with Facet of Protection, this will just help keep you alive. Who doesn't like that? We also have something like Facet of Ruin, which, yeah, I mean, for this specific setup, yeah, I probably don't really feel like I need this thing at all. But if you're using something like Dragon's Breath, yeah, you would want Facet of Ruin on here. And then Facet of Sacrifice. This just helps build up the darkness meter for our Transcendence just a little bit quicker, because we're basically almost always going to have at least, you know, Devour up with Feed the Void. So we'll be chilling. Then I also have Helion, although this second one is kind of just up to you, whatever you want. definitely have on Feed the Void, though. Oh, and I shouldn't have to mention this, but, yo, you have to put on a Healing Rift, okay? Put on a Healing Rift. Now, the weapons aren't too crazy. It's pretty simple. Since our Edge Transit here is going to be doing most of the juice, we're not doing like a crazy rocket rotation or anything, kind of just dumping a big fat Envious Mag. Although something to note with Envious Assassin is that if you change anything in your inventory, literally, like even if you would to hypothetically hot swap to Surge Boots, you would lose your Envious Mag, which sucks. Luckily, Sanguine gives you ×4 surges anyway, so you don't have to worry about doing a swap like that. Now, do you? You don't. Hell yeah. There's no Void Rocket Pistol, unfortunately, so I'm using the Unforgiven here. I really like this SMG. It's very, very strong in certain scenarios, and having Demolitionist and Frenzy on it is very, very good. Still, my favorite Void SMG, easily. And then our Wither Horde here is very easy, you know, to proc bait and switch with. But it's this season, it's called Concussive Reload, but the full artifact mod is Breach and Clear once again. Using a grenade launcher to damage a boss, champion, or break a combatant shield weakens them 15%. And then the boost, if you have the tonic up for it, will allow you to reload all your stowed weapons whenever you damage an enemy with your GL. So be really useful in other damage rotations. And other mods from the artifact, for this specific setup, maybe something like Kinetic Impacts could be pretty useful. But as long as you just have Concussive Reload, that's like the most important one. Everything else you can kind of go ahead and play around with, maybe like Fell the Revenant, Rapid Impacts. Concussive Reload is mainly what you're going to want, though, especially if you are in solo play, as this is going to give you a debuff with minimum effort. Quick Grenade Launcher, debuff. That makes the Wither Horde very, very good this season, and a great exotic choice. Now, for the mods on the armor, we have Orb Generating mods. Self-explanatory. If you love orbs, another firepower to create more orbs. Harmonic Loader helps reload our SMG, our good old Unforgiven. Harmonic Dexterity, since, you know, we got 2 Void weapons with our Void Super, so it'll help just swap between them quicker, which is very good for fluidity for your damage rotation. I have just 2 Concussive and a Harmonic Resistance. This is a build in which you don't have to swap to Surge Boots, so honestly, bro, you can rock whatever. Stacks on Stacks would be useful for Special Finisher if you are running 2 special weapons, but honestly, this is probably better off being a Scavenger mod, which give me just 1 second. And there we go. I've changed it to a Scav mod. Hell yeah. And then for your class item, since you're going to be popping your Rift a lot, I would go ahead and throw on a Reaper, help create more orbs. We'll happily take that. Powerful Attraction. Whenever we use our Rift, we can grab all the orbs around us. Useful. And then I just like Special Finisher on every single setup. And another reason why orbs are so good on Prismatic is because of Faceted Purpose. Fortunately, we don't have the access to Restoration here because we have on, you know, Nova Bomb, so we would just get a Void over shield. But still, easily one of the best fragments on Prismatic, and that's why I like to focus a lot on orb genning mods on our armor. I know we said this earlier in the video, but this is just one good setup that you can go ahead and rock with to crank out some really good damage on your Warlock. But with this chest piece, new, revamped, however you want to put it, you have a lot of options, dude. I really want to stress that. A lot of options. Although I will say on Prismatic, I would say the 3 main supers that you would want to aim to use this exotic with would either be, obviously, Nova Bomb, Needle Storm, and then Song of Flame. Song of Flame is really good with the Dragon's Breath, by the way. Yes, before you even ask the question, I will have a dim link for this build at the top of the description if you just want to go with the good old copy-paste route. Nothing wrong with that. We all cheated on someone else's homework during high school. Remember, everybody, peace, love, and good vibes. Get drunk and stay high. Can I say that on YouTube?